Hey, everyone. It's another episode of Beachside Banter with B. I'm B. Davis, your host, and today we are here with Rachael Popky. She is the director of the Kahuna Falls Retreat Center and just an all around amazing person. I'm super excited to have this conversation. Rachel, if you want to go ahead, take it away, introduce yourself, let everybody know why you're here and what you stand for.
Wow, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. Very grateful. I am actually coming to you from the big island of Hawaii. I am actually right now on the sunny side, which is Kona. And our retreat center is a little bit more on like the rainforest side. And so it has beautiful waterfalls. And I'm excited though, because I love a balance of both. So I'm coming to you from the sunny side today. And I am a global retreat guide, and I am also the director of the center at Kahuna Falls. And really, my passion is about making a difference. I really want to impact people's lives positively any way that I can. So, throughout the years, I've done that through coaching and support and mentorship, and also through hosting retreats. And now I get to kind of expand that reach through leading the retreat center because really every person, the hundreds of people that come through our retreat center every year, they go back to their communities. And I know that the ripple effect just continues, that they get to impact their communities. And so it's such a
That's
joy.
absolutely. It sounds like your background's kind of in like social change and activism and that sort of thing. Is that what kind of inspired you to start the retreat and get everything going?
Yeah,
The
so
retreat center.
my background is in my degree is actually in activism and social change. And in my 20s, I was super idealistic. Like I went to this school in San Francisco, wanted to join the Peace Corps, wanted to change the world. And you could catch me at a protest, you could catch me organizing, doing things like that. And that was really like something I was very passionate about is wanting to just see real change and progress in my lifetime. And some of the movements that I actually was able to work on in my lifetime actually did create like real change in my own lifetime, which was
Oh, that's
incredible
basic.
to see.
Yeah.
But I also, once I started having my kids, I really realized that there was a couple ways that I was going to really make a difference. One was the way that I raised them. Two was actually instead of necessarily fighting up against things, which can kind of be like some of the opposite energy that I want to put out, I decided I wanted to actually be part of a solution rather than always fighting up against things. And so that's when I actually got into the coaching industry. And I started doing what I call sacred empowerment coaching. And now I've coached from at risk teens to leaders of giant, global companies. And so it's been really beautiful to be able to see just like this whole process of like supporting people on their journey and their level of empowerment and so when I started doing the coaching, it just kept evolving and it kept shifting and it kept growing. And eventually I ended up here in Hawaii and had this opportunity to take over this retreat center, being the director over here. And it had already been functioning for about 20 years.
Oh,
But it's exciting because what I've been able to do is kind of shift it. And like, it's funny, the Fab Five, if you've ever watched Queer Eye, you can find it on Netflix. Jonathan, he says he zhuzhes things up. And so I kind of feel like that's what I got to come into the retreat center and do and just like zhuzh a little, like modernize it, bring it into this current space, and also like really create a grounded vision for what we're doing up there and like solidify the mission and help make sure that all the people that are coming, the facilitators that we serve, because we work with facilitators all around the world who have their own audiences, who host their own retreats, and we host them at our center. But not only to have the facilitators in line with the mission, but also the people that live on site. I really want them to actually experience the change and transformation and the growth that's possible up there as well. So it's amazing because really what we get to do up there touches so many people's lives, from the people that live there to the people that come and also the facilitators who host there.
Wow, I love that. So you said that when she started like the coaching era and all of that, you really started to see a shift and a change in other people. Could you give me an example of maybe like a feel good story?
One of my favorite clients that I've worked with, she had been pretty shy. She had been kind of lacking some self confidence and had tried all these different modalities. And I don't discount any of the other modalities. I think therapy is amazing. I think all the different tools in the toolbox can be great for people to try them out. But for her, after trying so many of them, what she found was that coaching was one of the most impactful things for her, because for the longest time, she had this messaging that there was something wrong with her. And
Mm.
when I coach people, kind of what I consider that sacred empowerment coaching, it's really about helping people learn about their own purpose, that they came here just as they are, warts and all, the ups and downs of life, like all of
Mhm.
it. We come as we're supposed to make, whatever mark on this world we're supposed to. And so, really, through the process of coaching her, it wasn't about like, I need to change all these things about me. It was more like, I just need to love myself and accept myself. And
Right.
it's so cool because I'm watching her right now just flourishing. She actually, finally found, like, some work that feels really soul aligned for her that she gets to share with people in her community. She's been writing a blog on Substack, and I'm one of her, like, top fans because I also just love that continued support of my clients. Like, I love seeing them win because I feel like I'm winning too. And the thing that is important to distinguish about coaching, it's not that I'm like leading people, telling people what to do. I may be a teacher in some moments and a guide in some moments, but really it's a linking of arms with people. And it's like a
Yeah.
figuring it out together. And so I think a lot of people get confused about what coaching is and think you have to be perfect to be a coach, or that you have to, know all this stuff or be like spiritually awakened. And actually, like, ultimately, you just have to show up, be a really good listener, be able to offer like really good feedback in the moment to your clients and just support them in their empowerment.
I'll be honest with you. I think a misconception is that a lot of time people think that, hey, I got a coach, like they're going to make my life decisions for me and things are going to be a little bit easier. But really, that's not the case because they're really just there to kind of guide you along the way and also teach you the things that you need to know in order to make, what you need to be successful. So I have learned that. I've worked with a few coaches throughout my life. And if you have not, I would 100% suggest it. Just because it's not only like, it's not therapy is great. Like, it's great to be able to go to somebody and talk to somebody about all the things that are going wrong in your life. But coaching is not necessarily that. It's more of a let's work together so that we could build and make this like dynasty or whatever it's called. So I feel like a lot of people need to kind of take that back and maybe change their thought process on what it is and all of that. But I definitely recommend it. If you have not worked with a coach, even if it's just somebody who could be your hype man and be like, hey, you're doing a great job. You got a $15 sale. That's awesome. Just something like that. I feel like that's what's lacking for a lot of people. And if they could just get that hype man, then they'll continue to be more successful and get more things done. I don't know.
I love
Those are my two
I
cents.
love the way
Yeah.
you articulated that. Yes, totally. So fun that you need a cheerleader. We all do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I know that me personally, like before I started working with a coach, and I don't work with one regularly like I should. I have a few friends that are in coaching and we'll sit down and we'll have conversations and that sort of thing. Before I started doing that, it was a lot of like, okay, should I keep going? Like, why am I still doing this? Is this even worth it for me? Like, I can't. And then when I started to kind of talk to my coaches, they were starting to like reconfigure my brain, so to speak. And it was more of a, hey, even if it's not the greatest of all wins, you still got C, or you still got this, or you still got that, or whatever. And it really just kind of was like, hey, okay, maybe I should keep going. So without that coaching, I don't think that I would be here where I'm at. I'd probably be working a 9 to 5. bored out of my mind, miserable because I'm working, the machine or whatever. But I don't know. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. I think it's great. I love people who can also be coaches because it takes a special kind of person. They have to be caring, and that's a lot of energy you have to give out. So, do you feel like because you're living in Hawaii, you can like kind of tap into the earth, so to speak, and kind of refill and rejuvenate easily?
Absolutely. Like, nature is definitely one of the places that I recharge. And, as much as I love living on the island and love being at the beach and love, swimming in our waterfall on the property, I'm a mountain girl. And so that was something that really drew me to the Big Island too, is that there's just everything here. You get the mountains, you get the ocean, you get the rainforest. And so I definitely love connecting with the energy here of just this beautiful place. But there's something that is just palpable. Like the first time I ever landed here on the Big Island and I got off the plane, I could just feel the energy here. It's very powerful because it is with the active volcano. We have Kilauea here on the island, and
Mhm.
it's not currently erupting at the moment, but it is active. With that, when it is erupting, what's happening is it is deciding where new land's going to get created, what the landscape is going to look like. And so it's this very transformational energy itself here on the island, being that new earth is created here. And so I think that we can tap into some of that kind of transformational energy too, of just the energetics of what is here, like naturally. But then there's also something that I feel is a little bit mystical. A lot of people say that Hawaii was ancient Lemuria. And so in the kind of like woo-woo spiritual world, there's this
Mhm.
idea that there was, this civilization that was here that did have more peace, that did have more unity, that functioned in a very different way, and that it disappeared. And so it's interesting because there's thoughts that Hawaii and the landmass of Hawaii was actually rumored to be what is left of Lemuria. And it's
That
fascinating because most people don't know, but all of the Hawaiian Islands are actually connected, and they're just connected. It's like a huge mountain range, but it's underwater. And so
interesting.
the islands that we enjoy are just like the tops of these mountain tops, kind of scattered along the ocean. And so here on the Big Island, we have Mauna Kea. And Mauna Kea is actually the tallest mountain on Earth, which many people don't know, because from the bottom of it at the ocean floor to the top, that's what makes it the tallest.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of those people. I had no idea that they were connected. It makes sense though if you look at the map. They look like they're all like in a line. So,
Yeah.
huh.
Yeah.
See? I learn new things every single day, and that's my favorite part about this show. I love it when people are like, "Oh, here, fun fact." And I'm like, "Huh, had no idea." Gosh, I don't even know where to go from that. My mind is like, I think you literally just blew my mind a little bit. But going back to the magic of Hawaii, I've heard from a few places. I actually have a cousin who has moved down there. I think he's been there for 20 or so plus years. And he has told me a gazillion times that there's no way in hell that he could ever live back on mainland because it's just this completely different feel. It's just, you feel like you're grounded, you have a clear path in life. It's easier to like, I don't know, you're clear minded, maybe? I don't know what it is, but like, is that why you decided on that? Or would you have done this retreat somewhere else given the opportunity for it?
So I had been hosting retreats, a lot of like the southwest area of the mainland, and I've hosted retreats at sacred sites that,
Okay.
to me, they're very powerful places where you can kind of connect into this ancient energy or this kind of portal like energy.
Yeah.
And I came to the Big Island with my husband, and we had already been kind of wanting to leave the Southwest where we had been living. We have 3 boys, and it just felt like we wanted to give them a little bit more of a small town vibe. It's funny because some people who live here in Hawaii consider themselves expats, which is funny because, of course, like, we're still part of the United States.
Right.
But there is this feeling that it is different here, and so we wanted something different for our kids, and we had been kind of looking at different places to move, and he and I had both lived in Colorado and California and all these different places, and we were kinda, like, checking things off the list, like, "Nope, nope, that's not it." So when we came here to the Big Island, like I said, when we stepped off the plane, there was just a feeling, it was
Mhm.
palpable, and then we also kinda started doing some research, like, is this something that is sustainable for our kids? Is this something that would be good for them? So we toured schools and we checked things out, and it was interesting because there's an actually very like, it's kind of a little bit of a mystical, like, divine connection story of how we ended up here. My coach at the time was my mentor back in the Southwest where I'd been living. She was hosting a retreat here, and she was hosting the retreat at the retreat center.
Okay.
And she, had heard that the owner of the retreat center was gonna attend the retreat she was hosting. And it's interesting because in the 20 years, he really hasn't attended many retreats there. He lives back on the mainland. This is more of, like, a sanctuary for him, not his actual business. He
Okay.
has another company on the mainland. So he, like something told him he needed to be at this retreat. He didn't quite know why, but he rearranged some things on his schedule and he came. And so my mentor was kind of like, "Oh no, like I've got all these women coming to this retreat and I feel like I need a guy to come. So like there's another guy for the owner to just buddy with." And so it's funny because over lunch one day, she's like roping my husband into coming to this retreat. And he's kind of like, "Okay," and it's tough. He would call himself retreat adjacent because he had seen me host all these retreats over the years, and he was kinda like, "Oh, yeah, that's her thing." He didn't really exact quite know what we did at these things. And so, he was like, "Okay," like Hawaii, and like I said, we were considering it for our family move. And so we took the leap and we ended up coming to this retreat and we met the owner. And I do have a godfather that lives on the island as well.
Oh, okay.
And so through that visit, we were like, yes, like this is it.
Aw.
And it was
Yeah.
interesting because I think that was in an October. By January, we were shipping a vehicle out here. And then by that next July, like we had closed on our home and we had moved the whole family here. So it was kind of like we said yes, we started making moves, and then just the doors started opening for us. At that point, it was never on the agenda to run the retreat center. But what was okay, back up. That conversation with my mentor, my coach at the time, she said, "I don't know," because she's very intuitive. "There's something that tells me that the 2 of you are supposed to run this retreat center." And she just had this weird hunch, and it is, off grid. It's on 40 acres. It's powered by
Ooh,
a
okay.
hydroelectric system from our waterfall. And my husband and I, we own an off-grid property on 10 acres in New Mexico and, have, a background in property management and things like
Yeah.
that. So she was kind of like, some of these things were like, "Wait a minute, these puzzle pieces." But at that point, it didn't even really make sense because there was caretakers that were living on the property that had been managing it for a while at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
So we make the move just on our own, like, following the energy, following our hearts, following what felt right for our family. Like I said, that July of that year, we closed on our house and we started moving here. Well, the month before that, the caretakers who had been there 10, 15 years told the owner, "We're ready to retire."
What? It's,
And
like,
so
so perfect.
yeah. So it was interesting because then it just all kind of was like, okay. And then asked us, because we had really become good friends, and was like,
Yeah.
maybe this would be a good fit for the two of you. And so my husband's background was in carpentry, and he had been building sets in the movie industry in New Mexico.
That's cool.
And so it was just an interesting way to like mold all of our background, and like, our resume fit, but it was also like spirit knew something. It was like all orchestrated in this wild way.
Yes.
And so it's been very interesting how it all unfolded. And we've been really grateful because, like you said, about was it a cousin that lives here in the island? Well, the islands can be particular about who gets to live here, and I don't say this in, like, an ego type of way, but some people will literally, like, get eaten up and spit out, and the island's
Mm.
like, "Nope," and they'll be packing up and moving home within 2 years, or they'll have weird stuff happen, or just the doors don't open for them. And for whatever reason, just like the series of events that just kind of like allowed us to be here, we were like, I think the island likes us. Like, I think it's a yes. And so we're really grateful. And it is one of those things that it's hard to think about living anywhere else now.
Yeah. Wow. That literally gave me goosebumps thinking about that. Like, I literally think this has been your guys' calling. Literally from day one. And you just it took you a long time to get to the right path. But now that you're on it, it's like, yeah, that's amazing. That is such a cool story. Describe a day in the life of one of your retreats. Is it like mostly, because some of them are like mostly yoga based or, mostly food based or something like that. Do you guys have like themes? How does that work?
Well, so what we do is we actually open up our calendar to facilitators that
Okay.
inquire about hosting their own retreats. And so we get just a variety of so many different kinds of retreats, from yoga teacher trainings to
Okay.
corporate retreats, to like BIPOC healing retreats, shamanic beekeeping. I mean, it is so.
That's a new one.
Yeah, like, there are really so many different things, culinary retreats that people are using the facility to host their retreats, and so
Gotcha. Okay.
our team,
That makes
we kind of just, like, create, this nice container so they can just show up and, like, be on take action and facilitate their retreat and host their guests, and we kinda take care of all the back end stuff and, say sure that things are cozy and comfy for them and operational. And so, usually at the retreats, and I've hosted some retreats there myself, so I can speak to my retreats specifically, and then also some that I have seen other people host. But typically, it's really funny, people coming from the mainland, a lot of our guests are coming, flying over. They wake up really early because they're still on the time zone from the mainland. And
Yep.
so we really invite people to just, like, wake up, help themselves to some coffee and tea in the morning in our lodge area, and then we have this beautiful lanai that overlooks the ocean. And
Ooh,
we're on the
okay.
east side of the island, and so you can see the sunrise from that side.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a
Yeah.
really nice kind of moment of, like, arriving at this center, waking up kind of when you normally wake up, getting your tea or coffee, and then just sitting and watching the sunrise. And then usually, they'll have a caterer come in and serve breakfast, a private chef, serve breakfast to their guests. And then usually there's like an agenda through the day of different activities that the facilitator is putting on, and little breaks throughout, maybe a lunchtime. Sometimes there's little excursions that the facilitators will plan and include it in their agenda. And then, typically, there's also downtime for exploring the property. People can also hire our team to take them to do waterfall adventures at the
Whoa.
waterfall. And so, really, it just depends on the pace of the retreat itself. But typically, that's kind of what the day looks like a lot of connection with the other retreat participants, amazing local foods, and then just beautiful teachings and kind of, like different rituals or whatever, yoga, qigong. Maybe you're going off for a massage appointment because we do have a massage and treatment room at the facility. So using can look a little bit like that for a participant.
Wow, that's awesome. So if you wanted to be a facilitator, how would you go about creating one of these retreats?
We work with a lot of people who already have, an audience and who have people that they are coaching or working with and things like that. And maybe they want to host a retreat or they have before. So oftentimes I'll just get an email inquiry and we do have an
Oh, okay.
application process because we really do want to make sure that people are aligned. For me, it's really important. Because even though I live here, I still consider myself a visitor here in Hawaii. It was the Kingdom of Hawaii that was forcefully overthrown by our government. And there are some very delicate ways that we have to like walk in beauty here and respect the local culture. And so we want to make sure too that the people that are coming through and facilitating that they are giving back in some way, that they're hiring locals, whether it's a local caterer or chef or excursion or things like that. And so that's kind of where our application process comes in to just kind of make sure that there's alignment and they understand kind of that clarity of what we would like to see. And then also, I actually am launching a program to train retreat facilitators.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm using, everything that I've learned in the past 10 years to be able to really teach people how to facilitate because a lot of people get real starry-eyed and they think, "Oh, I'm just going to host this retreat."
Right.
And there's so many layers to it. And so I really want to help people not only host profitable retreats, but impactful retreats.
Okay.
So I teach people how important it is to facilitate and manage the groups because group dynamics can be really interesting when you're bringing a bunch of strangers together. So there's a skill and an art to doing that as well. And so I'm very excited about launching Sacred Retreat Success. So I can also train facilitators. They can come to our center, get training, and then they can go ahead and put their retreat on the calendar that next year.
So as far as like pricing goes, does it seem to be kind of one par with like, a regular vacation, or is it more expensive? And how does that work?
Well, each facilitator, they're going to determine the pricing themselves
Oh, okay.
depending
That makes
on,
sense.
whatever it is they're offering. So if
Okay.
they're coming in with a certain level of expertise and whatever the investment it took for their trainings to arrive at the place that they're at to be able to share the wisdom that they're sharing or hold the space that they're sharing, their fee as the facilitator might merit a different rate depending on where they're at. And then the chef, hiring these caterers on the island, the food is expensive here. And so that is one thing, that is probably one of the bigger costs. And then, just overhead too, for our facility. And so it can range depending on the retreats, from maybe 2,000, 3,000 to 9,000, just depending on how long it is, to what the offerings are, what you're going to get. Will you get certified in the process if you're at this particular retreat? But I do find
Okay.
that for a week-long vacation, if you were coming to Hawaii, you're probably gonna spend something very comparable if you were going to stay at a resort, if you're gonna be drinking Mai Tais, if you're gonna be doing excursions. Yeah, it all adds up, and so I think it actually simplifies things for people because you can just, plug and play. You can show up and you can receive, and people will guide you along the way, and, yeah, so I think that it's probably comparable to a normal vacation, but then also if you're coming for a certification, might cost a little more.
Yeah, but then you're getting an amazing experience out of it too that seems to be a little bit more like down to earth and culturally immersive as opposed to like, going and staying in a resort. I usually tend to be one of those people who could try to get like an Airbnb or something like that so I can pretend that I live there for however long it is my stay. So yeah, so I tend to try to head to that direction. But I feel like you would get more of your money's worth with a retreat than you would with maybe just going to a resort there in Hawaii. So that's
I
really
agree.
cool. Let's talk food. Food is like my absolute favorite thing in the whole entire world. What kind of food am I going to get at these retreats? I know you said it kind of varies upon the catering and that sort of thing, but what do you see most often?
Typically one of the companies that we partner with, that oftentimes the facilitators hire, they can do vegan, they can do omnivore, they can do vegetarian, they can do Ayurvedic, right? They can do all these different things, but typically we see an omnivore menu. Oftentimes there is like local fish served, which is of course something that we're so lucky to have. A lot of ahi tuna, and there are different kinds of ingredients like the breadfruit or the purple potatoes and just different things
Mm.
that they incorporate. We have beautiful avocados on the island. We have amazing pineapple, just different fresh fruits and things that oftentimes some of the fruits that the catering company will bring in, people have never had before, star fruit or dragon fruit. And so that's also really fun because I have found that my retreat guests, they come and they're so blown away. They're like, I don't eat like this at home. And normally, like, I would maybe like be like, oh, like, I don't want all that like organic vegan stuff. But when it is prepared the way that it is just so lovely. And usually everybody is asking the chef for recipes. And I know that one of the chefs with the catering company we work with, she's actually in the process of putting together a cookbook because so many people ask her when they're leaving the retreat. Like, first they ask her, can you come and move home with me? Can we just pack you in the suitcase? And then they also are like, okay, well, if we can't take you, then do you have a cookbook? And so that's fun too, to be able to bring some of that back home.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't tell you how many chefs I have asked personally to come home with me. I will put you up. I will find you a place to stay. All you have, you don't even have to cook every single meal, just a couple times a week, and I'm happy. Yeah, like please. That's so funny. Yeah, gosh, just it sounds amazing. So one of the things that I have found, anytime I go to any island, it seems like the fruit is so dang good. Like, we went to, French Polynesia Islands. We were over in Moorea, which is close to Hawaii, so I would assume they're kinda similar in taste or whatever. They have the best pineapples I have ever eaten in my whole life. It was literally like you just cut it open, it is so juicy and so delicious. I didn't even like pineapples until we went on that trip. And now I'm like, "Hey, babe, make sure you grab a pineapple." He's like, "Why?" I will eat it for breakfast all the time now. It's not nearly the same, but so yeah, so I love that. Like dragon fruit, I've had the best banana I think I had in my life was in Puerto Rico for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it's just oh. So yeah, that's my favorite part is being able to try like the natural just the stuff that comes from the land itself, like the fruits and that sort of thing. The starfish, yeah,
Starfruit.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, starfruit, that's what I'm trying to say. Starfruit, I tried in Jamaica once, and it was literally like I don't even know, it was some sort of, like, tropical explosion in my mouth, and I'm like, "This is just absolutely divine." But we
Yeah.
can't find them here, they don't have them in Missouri, so
Right?
and if you do
Right.
find them, they're not very ripe, and they don't taste good, so it's just like, why am I even trying?
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had 11 different varieties of bananas growing on our property. Yeah. It's amazing. And I can't eat mainland bananas anymore. Like, it just, like, no.
I bet. Yeah, I definitely like I said, like, we eat bananas here now, and I'm like so I wish this was a Puerto Rican banana, but whatever, it's fine. I'll eat it. Like, I feel like I'm living in the slums over here because our bananas just do not taste the same. For listeners who feel stuck in life, what's one piece of advice that you would give to them? Because I know that you have, direction and that sort of thing. And how can they get a hold of you so that they can take advantage of your coaching?
Well, thank you so much for asking. For me, I think one of the like most transformational things that you can do is listen to your own intuition. Like,
Right?
cultivate your own intuition. And so what happens for people is we have this internal compass that knows. and it gets kind of broken in our
Mhm.
lifetime, and we have to recalibrate it to our own true north. And so I have processes that I teach people to be able to do that. But really, what happens is we end up getting, society telling us to be a certain way, our parents, other
Mhm.
people's beliefs, our own fears. There's so much noise, right? And so, really, I feel like genuinely, we all know the way. And it's important to learn how to cultivate that relationship with your intuition. So when you do tap in and you ask yourself, like you're stuck and you're like, which way should I go? You can trust what's coming through for you, that it's not coming from a place of the monkey mind or the fear or the anxiety. We don't want that running the show. We want that
Right.
Noah running the show. And so I think that is one of the most empowering things that we can do. Is trust ourselves.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I love that. So I feel like you would be just this little vibe that I'm getting from you. I think you would be a great coach and a great listener. So anybody who is looking for a coach, I think Rachel might be your gal. Just throwing it out there. Rachel, where can everybody find you?
Well, thanks for asking. So you can find me. I'm also, it's so funny. My kids make fun of me so much, but I do hang out on Facebook still. They're like, "See, book mom, like, what's that?" Still saying it is still a thing. And that's where I'm probably most active on social media. My company's called Divine Destinations. And so you can also find me at divinedestinations.com. And, you can learn more about some of the coaching programs, like I mentioned, Sacred Retreat Success and things like that. But, I'd love just like shoot me a friend request on Facebook because I just love connection too. I
Yeah.
always want to be very like approachable and available for people. And so I'm going to be someone that will respond and it will be me, not a bot.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. It's really hard to find people who are still doing their own social media. You could tell that I am one of those people because it's so scarce. Last time for that. I'm just saying. That stuff's crazy. So real quick before I end every show, I always ask one last question. What does paradise mean to you?
Mm. Well, it's interesting because my company is called Divine Destinations. And I
Mhm.
do think that that really kind of just reminds me of what paradise is. But what paradise is too, like, it's not so much of always the outer. Like, sure, like, I live in a beautiful place. It's gorgeous here. Like, I can see the ocean from my window and there's gorgeous palm trees. But really, paradise is also this inner journey. The
Mhm.
divine destination is also inside of you that you can reach. And that comes through having a sense of peace, through joy. That's paradise. When we can ground ourselves in those types of things, it really doesn't matter where we are. We can be anywhere on the planet. But if we have those things in our heart and in ourselves, we're living in paradise.
That is a fantastic I think that might be my favorite answer so far. Yeah, I agree. A lot of times, people don't really realize that you don't necessarily have to live in the most beautiful place in order to have, that paradisical feeling. All you really need is just calm and inner peace. And once you find that, you're living the life. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate this conversation. I've learned a lot. I definitely will be in touch with you because I feel like one of those treats would be a lot of fun for me to host. I've got a few people in mind already. So yeah, we will keep in touch and we'll talk soon. So I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon. Hey there, beach lovers. That's it for today's episode of Beachside Banter with B. I sure hope you had as much fun as I did. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. You can catch me on all social media platforms at Life, Love, and Travel. And if you've got a question or you just want to stop by and say hi, feel free to slide into my DMs and I'll make sure to get those answered for you. Big thanks to everyone who joined me today and for all of you who tuned in. And until next time, enjoy your week.